Should you DIY your retirement? We get a lot of people who watch these videos who have DIY'd their retirement up to this point, and they often ask and wonder, should I continue on moving forward? And so in today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement, we're going to be talking about the 4 questions that you need to consider whether you're going to DIY or not. And typically when we go through these 4 questions with the people looking to work with us, typically they come to a very good consensus of what they want to do from that. So that's what we're going to go through here today. And so let's get going.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So if this is your first time watching our YouTube channel, my name is Joe Schmitz. I'm the CEO and founder of Peak Retirement Planning, and this channel is designated to those that we call Midwestern Millionaires. Hard workers, frugal, diligent savers, and they're the best savers and the worst spenders, as I always say. And so you're probably thinking, I'm not in the Midwest. Can I be a Midwestern millionaire? And of course you can. We have clients in Florida who call themselves the middle-class millionaires. We have other clients who call themselves blue-collar millionaires that aren't in the Midwest. We serve clients all across the country and just have come up with a term based on the values that many of our clients have. And so based on that, there's going to be a lot of opportunities that they have throughout the retirement because there's going to be much more advanced planning. And that's what this channel is all about, especially those with pensions and in that Midwestern millionaire. And so if that's you and this is your first time watching, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and we'll keep content just like this coming. We have a ton of subscribers and we love doing these educational videos. We get a ton of feedback from those who watch. And if you've gotten anything out of this channel, I'd love to hear it. If you could put in the comments below what has been the most helpful topics that we've talked about or what has been helpful that I've talked about that you've actually been able to implement within your plan. And if you're a client, I'd love to hear your comments as well and how your experience has been with us. We certainly love serving people from this YouTube channel. It's the exact niche of people that we serve here. And so we'd love to hear from you. So when it comes to considering to DIY your retirement, you really can think about your situation. If you're all those things I just talked about, you probably can DIY your retirement. I mean, you can afford to make some mistakes even if you're not doing it extremely well because you've done so well up to this point. And so if it's really going to be a decision for you of what is you're most comfortable with. And one of my favorite stories of a DIYer who decided to work with us is I saw him 6 months after he decided to commit to working with us. And he said, Joe, I finally fully trust your team with my retirement planning. And I said, hold on. You went 6 months with us without fully trusting us with your life savings? He goes, no. I trusted you up front, of course. I had a feeling that you guys did really good work. I've watched a lot of videos. I've read your books. I've got a really good understanding. He said, but I finally no longer have to check anything anymore moving forward, and it is the best feeling in the world. He said, for the first 6 months and for everything before that, I had to check everything. I was worried I was going to miss something. I was, had to read things over and over again because I was just second guessing myself. And so if that's you, you probably can relate to this. But once he saw all the communication and the planning and all the gaps that he had get covered, it then gave him peace of mind. And he's like, hey, I can now do what I want and not have to worry about this any day. And so that's what we really would encourage you to think about. Maybe you're like that guy who he wanted to get help. He wanted to trust a team so that he could get this off his plate. Or maybe you're the other type of person that you're going to miss it. You're going to want to do it on your own. And if that's the case, if all 4 of these don't apply to you, you may be good to go and you can afford to DIY your retirement. So the first thing you want to consider when you're thinking about DIYing your retirement is a plan for your spouse. And this is probably the number one reason people work with us who are DIYers is because they want to make sure that if they pass away, their spouse is going to be good to go. They also know that cognitive impairment can be a real thing, whether that's for them or their spouse. They want to make sure that someone's there to help them make those financial decisions if they no longer can make those. And so obviously that's something that you could wait until that spouse passes to find, but then you're putting the trust of finding a team and a spouse that may not be as involved in the finances. And so a lot of times our clients, they like to test drive it, make sure it works before they ultimately trust us with their spouse moving forward. And it also allows the spouse to get involved more within the plan to understand what's going on versus doing it last second or not being able to do that. And so if you're really in charge of your financial plan, this could give you a lot of control to be able to pick that team to serve your spouse moving forward. As we always say when working with an advisor, there's no commitment. Some firms may charge you an upfront fee. That's something we don't do with clients because we want to make sure that if it doesn't work moving forward, hey, we don't want to force someone to work with us. us. This is their life savings. It's not ours. And so that's something that I think is really important for you to know too, is that this could give you opportunity to see, what you're looking for and make sure you make the right decision. And if you even take this a step further, some people are worried about making sure that they have money wealth transfer to their next generation as well. So not only to the spouse, but also to the next generation. We had another guy that told me, he said, Joe, I'm working with you guys. I'm tired of doing this on my own. He said, I want to make sure I have someone there for my retirement, my spouse's retirement. And he said, I want to make sure that someone's there for my kids' retirement. And I joked with him and I said, well, we'll probably be there for your grandkids' retirement too, knowing we're a younger team. And that's ultimately our goal is generational planning. We're a family feel firm, and that's what we love to do. We always help our clients' family and friends to make sure that we can serve them for a long time and see that lifetime impact. But when it comes to this wealth transfer to the next gen, it's really important to have a team there to make sure that's going to go smoothly. So you may feel comfortable DIYing and just having conversations with them. And if that's the case, then maybe that's not a big concern for you. But a lot of our clients are worried that their children may not understand exactly what to do with their wealth, knowing how significant it is. I mean, if you've saved over $1 million, it's a lot to lay into your children's lap and say, hey, good luck and figure it out. They may not understand the full tax planning benefits. They may not be working with a team. And so that's where, we typically plug in and are already serving their kids so that when that happens, we can help transition them from there moving forward. And another thing to think about here too when planning for the spouse is planning for the widow's penalty. And so this is something that we see a lot of DIYers maybe haven't considered yet. And that's the big thing with the widow's penalty, is knowing that you're going to lose one of the two Social Security benefits, but also you're going to have to go from married filing jointly tax brackets to single, which can be a significant cost, and you may have to pay nearly double the amount of taxes in that scenario. And so we want to see people get ahead of those type of concepts. And so again, working with a team, you're going to make sure you get that checked off, run all the scenarios analysis to make sure that spouse is good to go. They've got to trust the team. They've got the right strategies in place. They're not going to overpay in taxes. So, that's where it can make sense to work with a team. The second thing to consider if you're thinking about DIYing your retirement is time. Many of our clients, they basically say, hey, I'd rather get my time back and enjoy my retirement than plan my retirement. And if that's you, then that may be something to consider. Now, you could be on the other side and say, I love retirement planning. I love financial planning. I love investments. I love reading tax code. If that's you, maybe this time thing isn't important. Maybe that is your hobby within retirement. So really understanding how much do you really care about this and what do you want to do with your retirement is going to be an important decision. And also, does it stress you out or does it not? Because if it stresses you out, it may not be worth it, and paying the cost could give you more peace of mind, but also give you a little better standard of living there. And when it comes to time, my estimate is that DIYers are probably spending at least 100 to 200 hours a year on their retirement planning. And again, that's just not checking accounts. That's looking at all the different strategies and opportunities and staying up to date on all the changes. And, most of them take more time because they don't have the software in place, or it's their first and only retirement plan they've ever planned. So they're learning concepts on the regular that they've never heard before. And also they're having to relearn it every single year when they go to monitor and make changes. And so a lot of times we see that can be really time consuming. Whereas if you work with a retirement planning team, you may spend around 10 hours, maybe even less, because the team's typically doing all the research, the work. They're getting back on all your questions, so you don't have to worry about it. And it can also be a thinking time partner with you to make sure that you can bounce things off of, so you don't have to second guess and lose some sleep too. I guess that could be another point I mentioned is, the lost sleep. But, going back to the time thing, I think a lot of people probably don't spend 100, 200 hours if they DIY it. So just make sure you are budgeting to spend that much time if you really want to maximize it. Again, back to the main point, you can DIY retirement. You may miss a lot of opportunities, but you're in such a good place with your pension million plus, it may not even phase you. So that's really what you just have to consider for yourself. The third thing to consider when you're thinking about DIYing your retirement is when it comes to delegation. Now, the pros and cons of delegation, let's talk about that. So obviously the pros we talked about in the last concept with time, you don't have to worry about it. So many people tell us, I don't know what I don't know. And so delegating that can also help reduce mistakes, save you time, as we mentioned, and just give you that more of that peace of mind. Whereas on the other side of delegating those, maybe you are a control freak. Maybe you do not like to have someone help you make decisions. Well, then maybe that's a reason to just continue to DIY and be okay with it. And I always tell people, hey, if you're going to lose sleep at night knowing that you can't make every single decision, maybe it's best just to DIY it. Maybe it's okay to miss opportunities so you can sleep that night, because I think that's the most valuable thing. I actually listened to a podcast and they said if you could buy sleep, that would be the best thing you would ever buy, and everyone would buy it. But you can't. It's so good for your health, right? So we always tell people that to kind of give them a perspective there. But I want to also really understand. I think a lot of people may misconfuse this. When you work with a financial planning team, you're really not giving up any control. In most cases, financial planners will make investment decisions for you, so that you don't have to worry about that, or they don't have to call you every time they make a change to the investment, so they can be very timely and ahead of things. But as far as the money, if you're unhappy with an investment team, as I mentioned earlier, you can move at any time. It's your money. It's in a third-party custodian, and that money is in your name. And so they can't take money out and put it in their bank account. They can't send it to the Nigerian prince overseas. It's your money at the end of the day. So it's also something that, as we mentioned earlier, if that's one that maybe you're going back and forth with, again, even trusting a team, just making sure you're working with a fiduciary, making sure you're working with an SEC registered firm are things that we always encourage people to do. Then you know that they're going to act in your best interest, and they're not going to take advantage of you. And so that could be a good way for you to understand if this is what you want to do or not as well. So the fourth and final thing that you want to consider in this DIY retirement planning quiz is tax planning. Are you going to be doing the tax planning on your own? Do you understand all that's involved with the tax planning? I would say this is also one of the other biggest points that DIYers of why they work with us is because they don't understand the tax side of things. They understand, the concept of investment management. Many of our clients understand the value of getting professional investment management. Vanguard even did a study that said you'll do 1% to 3% better with a professional investment management team than DIYing it, just due to tax efficiency, due to rebalancing at the right times, due to following market trends, due to behavioral finance, to keep things in check and not make emotional decisions. And so we typically always recommend people, at least get investment management. Don't pay a full 1% for investment management, but through all the tax opportunities, through all the data that, making decisions on that side, it can make sense to pay a reduced cost just for that, and hope that can lead to alpha over time than what you would do on your own. Because just too many times we see DIYers just not make the right decisions from an investment planning standpoint. And obviously that can be a big difference over time by just getting a 1% to 3% extra return there. And so where we really see DIYers struggle the most when it comes to tax planning is they just don't understand the advanced strategies out there, but most of them have all their assets in tax deferred. And so what that means is they're going to have a big retirement tax time bomb is what people call that. And they're going to have large RMDs when that 73 or 75 comes along. And so they're going to probably end up paying more in taxes if they don't do strategic strategies right now, like a Roth conversion as an example. That's something we do with a lot of our clients where DIYers aren't really sure what to do there. They're not really sure of, hey, should I convert a lot of money and bump myself tax brackets? What about Medicare premiums, Social Security tax, capital gains? How does everything play together? And so that's something you really want to be aware of. And obviously Medicare premiums can cost more in the future for many of the clients we deal with. And so just having a pulse on those types of items there, preparing for the widow's penalty like we talked about earlier, preparing for the legacy, all of those are going to be really important items when it comes to tax planning. And something else we see when it comes to tax planning that DIYers may not be necessarily considering in full is tax efficient income planning, is basically making sure they know where to pull out that money when they need it. Are they going to pull out from a Roth? Are they going to pull out from tax defer? Are they going to pull from their non-retirement account? Where is that going to put them from an income standpoint? And so if you feel like you've got all those in place and very confidently that you are good to go, then that could be a reason to continue to DIY it. But that is one of the biggest concerns that I would say we see. So depending on how you did on this quiz, I guess will depend on your comfort level as you move along here. And so I want to give you two opportunities here. One is if you read all this and you still want to DIY your retirement, then congratulations. I hope that you'll be a successful one for you, and good luck to you. And I'd love to offer you my book, I Hate Taxes, as you do plan to DIY your retirement to make sure that you're not missing anything. A lot of people have gotten a lot of value out of that. And so if you go to the description below, you can request that book. We'll send it out to you. For watching this long and hearing me talk for this long, I'm sure you're an avid viewer as well. We'll send that out to you. And if you're on the other side of the fence where you're thinking, I don't think I want to do this anymore, I think I want to get help and explore working with a team? Well, in the description below, you can also schedule a 15-minute call with our team to see if we could be a good fit. Now, I want to be very clear. As you know, with this YouTube channel, we get a lot of viewers. We get a lot of people that reach out to us. We currently cannot take on everyone that reaches out, but we are bringing on new clients at this time. So this would be an opportunity to see if we could be a good fit. And if so, we'll explore working together and what that could look like to be a client of ours and help you with all these issues so that you can enjoy that retirement that you've worked so hard for here. So with that being said, that's all I've got on today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement.